Hey, BookTube, how's it going? Yes, good. I hope your weekend is going well. I know how much you hate that, people. Um, but some people like the sound of people drinking and smacking their lips. But today, this is really important. Today we are doing a weekend reads for you. So for those of you who are familiar with Steve Donahue's channel, he does the To Be Read by You. This is kind of the same thing, but with bigger announcements because, let me see, how many would that be? Nine? Was it nine? I have to go back and look. A bunch of my backlist titles I put back up on Amazon. So there is a ton of stuff for you to read. So let's take a look at this and we'll go through and try to figure out like what you're into. So as you know, I started putting up the two books in the Red Phone series, and in doing that, I was doing that in hopes to kind of rebrand the Black Star Canyon series I had done, to kind of open it up to a wider audience. And I'll put the pictures up here so you can see what I'm talking about. I wanted to market it more on a horror side. But the problem is that Zoe and I, like Zoe did those two covers and they're fine. I like them a lot. But they're not us and they're not Black Star Canyon. And Black Star Canyon, even though it is very disturbing and at times kind of scary, it's also very fun and I guess just exciting and funny. Like, we had a really good time putting those together. So, what we did was we went ahead and put the original covers on the novels. So, and I'll have those up now. So basically, what Black Star Canyon was a 25-part serial um, that I did, and we, like, each story arc, I guess, would take place over 5 of the serials. So basically, it's 5 novels, and if you don't know what they're about, it's kind of like Twin Peaks. It's about a um, small little rural town called Black Star Canyon that's kind of um, almost like a one horse town kind of thing. And it's just about the mayor, Jonathan Kensington, finding the body of a young woman dead on his property. And he's the mayor, so that's going to be an issue. And there's all of this stuff bubbling up. So the detectives, Detective Lucas and Detective Cheney, they are the ones who are going to try to solve this murder, find out who this woman is, what have you. But as they start digging into this murder, they start digging up a lot of um, other secrets that the town once buried, and people of the town would like do anything to keep secret. And as this goes, you find that there's almost like kind of like a puppet master of the town, and there's a lot of, and as they're trying to find this out, like more and more of the townspeople are murdered. So you never, the cast is huge. You never know who is an ally, who is an enemy. And it's not just about the police procedural kind of bit. That's a big part of it. But there's also like teenagers in it, and there's a lot of stuff from their points of view. There's a lot of stuff about the people who run the newspaper, the coroner, uh, the diner, like all the people who were involved in all these things, the town historian. Um, it's just like if you like big stories that are fast paced and like keeps you at the edge of your seat and your heart like beating erratically, I highly recommend the Black Star Canyon books. So those are all on Amazon. Um, and if you like hard boiled detective stuff, I have the two Hank Bradshaw novels that I wrote, Dead Dame Walking and Dead Dame in a Trunk. This is very 40s, 50s noir um, era hard boiled private eye kind of stuff. And for those of you who don't know, real quick before I get any further in this, the first couple Hank Bradshaw things I wrote are shorts and short stories, and I've been putting them in the Weird Mask zine under the name Mick Hunter, and then Britt, I think her at on Twitter and stuff is Girl on Kindle Fire. After me using that name for like 2 years, 3 years, explained to me that Mick Hunter sounds a lot like when you say, my name is Mike, last name Hunt. And she thought that was funny. Her mom thought it was funny. Everyone was laughing at me. Zoe didn't even pick up on it. And then when I was like first telling her the story, she like put it together before I even got to it. So that's why the Mick Hunter name is kind of dead now. And I'm just trying to put everything under my name now too. In the zine and Weird Mask, though, I do use pseudonyms still. But anyway, so I wrote a lot of short stories with Hank Bradshaw, and basically, there was one story called Dead Dame on the Floor that was about like one of his oldest female friends he finds dead, and has to try to put together how it happened, why, like your typical PI stuff. Okay. So anyway, so the alliteration of the dead dame thing became kind of like what I was going to do with the novels. So, Dead Dame Walking used to be called You Tell You Die. And then I pulled it after I decided to do the Dead Dame thing. But anyway, so Dead Dame Walking is about this really wealthy, well to do woman who owns a tabloid that is like a gossip rag. And somebody has shot at her. She gets death threats all the time, but she gets death threats from like everybody, like in the mail and on the phone and stuff like that. But when somebody tried to shoot at her, she's pretty sure someone's actually trying to kill her. So she hires Hank to try to find out which one of these many people that want her dead is the one who is actually trying to kill her before she is murdered. So that is Dead Dame Walking. And then Dead Dame in the Trunk is about Hank goes on like just like a big party night, has this mutual, not a mutual friend, but like an acquaintance, a female acquaintance. They end up shacking up at his place, and when he wakes up, she's not there, and his front door's open, and he's super hungover. He thinks there might be some more gin in his trunk because he kind of remembers stopping by the store on the way home, kind of thing. Opens the trunk and finds the girl he was with the night before dead in his trunk. And someone's obviously trying to frame him for this murder. And so he's trying to, like, figure all this out. And right as this starts, someone steals his car, like, as he's noticing that there's a body in the trunk. So he has to deal with all that shit too. So it's like typical, like, hard drinking, chain smoking, hard boiled detective, if you're into that kind of stuff. Next, if you like stuff that's a lot more lighthearted, the Shallow Jallow books I have up now too. Crystal and Relapse. And these are kind of parodies based on 1970s Giallo films. So if you don't know what a Giallo film is, they're like, Giallo means yellow. Oh, you know what? Did I put them back? Shit, I just Instagrammed some books this morning. I think I put them back. Giallo just means yellow, and they were called Giallo films because, or Gialli, because the books that you would get, like the paperbacks, if it was like a murder mystery, they would always have yellow covers. So the whole genre adapted the name. And yes, you would have like Agatha Christie things as Gialli or as a Giallo. But like Murder, She Wrote in Italy is called like The Lady in Yellow because that's just what that is. So it takes place in the 70s, and every stereotype and ridiculous thing that's in these films make it in the book. So like everyone, all the leads are like an amateur detective who also just happens to be like the most amazing like pianist or skydiver or race car driver or whatever. And everyone's girlfriend is like a supermodel or in the fashion industry or something along those lines. And I don't want to give too many of the tropes away because they're so much fun, but they're like, it's like one of my favorite types of film. So in writing those books, like one of the most famous Giallo directors is Dario Argento. Not from his horror stuff, but his actual Giallo stuff. And probably his most famous film is a movie called Deep Red or Profondo Rosso, if that sounds Italian. I don't know if it did. But that's why I called the series Shallow Giallo, because it's like deep red, shallow, Giallo, yellow. Okay. So those are really fun. And the lead character in it is named Edwin Fenwick, which is a play on Edwidge Fenwick, who is like the queen of the Gialli. So if you're into those at all, they're super tongue-in-cheek, very raunchy, a lot of sexual humor, and like a 14-year-old would tell a joke kind of thing, stuff like that. But there's still like a big mystery and murder and all that fun stuff. So if you're into that, check those out definitely. And then finally, I put up the 2 books in the Bloodlust series I did. Now, these, it's not even like a trigger warning. This is like beyond a trigger warning. These are these are two of the first books I ever wrote, and they are extremely graphic, extremely violent, body torture, body horror. I mean, um, there is torture in it. Very weird. Um, Home invasion, robbery kind of stuff. So if any of that stuff is like too close to home, do not read these books. The first one's Bloodlust Romance, and the second one's Bloodlust Revenge. They are very, I don't want to say edgy because that sounds really lame, but like if you do not like exploitation and you do not um, like hardcore horror, do not read these books. Like seriously, like do yourself a favor, do me a favor, and not getting it and then leaving me a shit review because it's awful and in that way. But yeah, so they're up, and you could get any of these right now and read them. And if any of you want like review copies of any of these, if any of those things sounded cool, I'll send you whatever you want. But if not, just jump on over to Amazon. There's a slight plethora there for you to play around with. And there will be a test tomorrow, so make sure you take notes. Okay? There are some other books that I haven't put up yet, which are the Brain Thief books, the Gavel books, the Hitman Black books, Black Market Blood Drive, and I think there's a couple other things I can't remember right now. But I haven't put those ones up because those are either appearing now in Weird Mask or will be appearing in Weird Mask. So as they finish, I will be putting those up. So for instance, the first Gavel story, Fight Night, will be over in this upcoming issue of Weird Mask. So in October, I'll put the book out, if that makes sense. If you see how the works, then that'll be super. So, all right. Let me know what you think down below. I would love to chat with you, and I'll talk to you soon.